Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming to this press conference, the purpose of which is to review and release portions of the body-worn camera video from the October 26th officer-involved shooting incident that involved non-Zao, Sergeant Matt Smith, and Officer Paul Harris. Before I move forward with the press conference, I'd like to pause for a minute to offer my condolences to the family members and friends of Mr. Zao. I'd ask that everyone please keep that family who is suffering or grieving the loss of a loved one, please keep that family in your thoughts and prayers. Likewise, I'd like to acknowledge my officers who were involved in this incident. This has been a difficult and emotional time for them as well, having been forced to take the life of another. And please keep those officers in your thoughts as well. So what I hope to do today is to take the opportunity to go over the facts of the incident as we know them, view and briefly discuss the body-worn camera video that will be released to you. And just bear in mind that this is not all the body-worn camera video. There were multiple officers that came after the shooting incident, but this is just a compilation of the relevant pieces of the video that will give you an understanding of exactly what occurred. Afterwards, I'd like to take a few minutes to answer a few limited questions. Just bear in mind that this is the investigation has been turned over to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and so I'll be limited as far as what I'm able to answer beyond questions that are related to the body-worn camera video and initial facts that we had. So here are the facts as we know them. On Friday, October the 25th, at about 8 p.m. in the afternoon, Sergeant Matt Smith and Officer Paul Harris were investigating a noise complaint in the 100 block of Royale Road. The original call was for a noise complaint. However, when the officers spoke with the reporting party, he told the officers that a neighbor, who was later identified as non-Zao, had threatened to shoot him. This changed the nature of the investigation from a simple misdemeanor noise complaint to the investigation of a felony terroristic threats. The officers attempted to locate Mr. Zao at his apartment, but they got no answer when they knocked at his door. Sergeant Smith and Officer Harris were about to clear the call, and at this point, as they went back to their vehicle, Sergeant Smith, believing that the call was over, actually turned his body-worn camera video off. Officer Harris did not turn his body-worn camera video off, and it was still running at this time. While the officers were still circulating in the area, they noticed Mr. Zao, who appeared to be hiding behind a tree in a grass area. The officers exited their vehicles, and Mr. Zao began to reach behind his back, and while walking away from the officers, looked back at the officers while reaching behind his back. The officers ordered Mr. Zao to stop and let them see his hands. Mr. Zao disregarded the officers' orders and walked behind a dumpster enclosure. Once partially behind the enclosure, Mr. Zao produced a handgun and fired at least one round. Sergeant Smith and Officer Harris indicated that at this point they feared for their lives, and both, while moving to cover, returned fire. After the shooting, Mr. Zao fled into a dark area. The officers did not immediately pursue him. They held their position, called for, and waited for backup. Once other officers arrived and began searching in the area, they were able to locate Mr. Zao a short distance away from where the shooting had taken place. He had collapsed due to injuries that he sustained in the shooting incident. The gun that Mr. Zao fired was secured, and officers began to provide first aid to Mr. Zao. While being treated, Mr. Zao was asked why he had shot at the officers, and he responded by saying several times, "I shot in the air." Emergency medical services arrived and transported Mr. Zao to a local area hospital where unfortunately he succumbed to his injuries. Consistent with Athens-Clarke County Police Department policy, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations was called in to investigate the officer-involved shooting incident. Also, in accordance with our policy, both officers were placed on administrative leave pending a preliminary review of the facts in this case. So at this point, what I'd like to do is I'm going to show you a series of 3 videos. And the first video, body-worn camera video, is of from Officer Paul Harris's body-worn camera video, and is actually what was captured by film when the shooting took place.
You got the sign? You wanna hit the sign? Right there. Look at it next to the tree. Let me see your hands. Get your hands up. Thank you. What? Come here. Come here. Come here. Let me see your hands, man. Stop reaching behind you.
Dude.
Nobody said anything. We just want to talk to you.
Show me your hands.
Show me your hands.
Go ahead.